as that, you're welcome here. Make yourself at home.
Hello, everybody. How are you? Welcome to Working In's webinar for healthcare assistants. My name is Samina Jaspal. I'm one of the licensed immigration advisors at Working In New Zealand, and I am also a specialist within the healthcare industry immigration sector. I know some of you are joining from different places in the world, so I welcome you all. We will be sharing some slides through our presentation today, and we have Crystal, who is also with Working In as an administrator. She is also ex-Immigration New Zealand case officer, so she'll be there to answer your questions. And if there's anything that she can't answer, she'll refer those to me after the webinar. So we'll start today. I've already introduced myself, but again, Senior Licensed Immigration Advisor and Healthcare Industry Specialist with Working In New Zealand. What we're going to cover today. So the webinar is going to be focused for healthcare assistants looking to make the move to New Zealand. So we're going to be covering why New Zealand. Now, I know many of you are already here because you've been in touch with Working in New Zealand before. You may have already spoken to one of our licensed immigration advisors or recruitment team, but we'll give you some more information of why New Zealand. We'll look at covering a little bit about where you might want to live in New Zealand. And we will also introduce you again to Working In, so about us, who are we, and how we can assist you in planning moving forward. That will include preparation tips, understanding the immigration sector in New Zealand at the moment for people wanting to come in, how you can get started, as well as your next step. So that's a good overview of what we're going to cover today. So like I just covered there, why New Zealand? You would have seen a little intro video before our webinar started, and that had some of the beautiful landscapes that we have in New Zealand, and you can see that behind me as well. But we've got an incredible outdoor lifestyle here. It's a very safe environment. We're a small population, maybe a lot smaller than the country that you are either from or maybe working in at the moment. We've got beautiful food and wine industry in New Zealand. So those are some of the main attractions of coming into New Zealand. There's a great work-life balance as well. Important to know is that if you are in New Zealand on a work visa, there's also free public schooling as well for children at primary school and secondary school level. As I said, smaller population, and we've got beautiful outdoor spaces, as well as the public schooling as well. If you're in New Zealand on a work visa, you've also got access to free healthcare, the same healthcare that any New Zealand citizen or resident would have availability to. So those are some great points about, why you might look at New Zealand for you and your family. We have a varied climate. We are 4 seasons in the year, sometimes 4 seasons in a day. You will experience that. We're also a really multicultural society. So, when you're in New Zealand, if you're in your workplace, in the weekends socially and just even out and about, you will see how varied and multicultural our society is. We're very welcoming to different cultures. It is part of the makeup of New Zealand. And we do have jobs and career prospects in New Zealand. And today, as you all know, we're touching on this for healthcare assistants. Now, healthcare assistants as well, another benefit is there is a pathway to residency in New Zealand. New Zealand requires your skill set. It is valued, and that is why there is a pathway to residency as well. Now, when we talked about the jobs and career prospects in New Zealand, so again, when we're talking about healthcare assistants, these roles can be varied. There are roles like aged care workers, personal care assistants, and there's also nursing support roles. So there are varied roles that are on offer in New Zealand, and all three of these roles do have a pathway to residency as well. And when you're looking at New Zealand, of course, for partners as well, there is opportunities in some key industries that your partners could look at. Of course, the focus of us today is with healthcare assistants, and these are just some of the roles that we are going to cover, but these are the important roles as well today. Now, we've touched on pathway to residency. I know that that's something that is going to be important for all of you to understand. So there are roles within the healthcare sector that have a 2-year pathway to residency. Okay, so what that means is New Zealand has opened up its doors for healthcare workers, as this is a skill that needs to be filled in New Zealand. And after 2 years, as long as you meet those requirements and you're within the healthcare sector at the certain pay rate that is part of the eligibility, you have a 2-year pathway to residency. So after those 2 years, residency applications can be made, and your partner and your dependent children can be included in those residency applications. So that's something that's really important to know moving forward. Now, everybody's situation may be slightly different when they're looking at New Zealand, but also once they have a job offer in New Zealand, there are different pay rates that may be on offer. So licensed immigrants at Working In, we can assist you in making sure you're planning this, making sure your pathway is planned, but also making sure that you understand your individual pathway to residency within the healthcare sector. Now, also, many of you already know about Working In, which is why you're joining us today, and it's great to see. But just a little bit about Working In and what we do. Okay, so there are 3 different components to what we can assist with, but really it is end-to-end support. So we've been in the business, in the recruitment and immigration business and relocation business for over 25 years now. We've helped a lot of people come to New Zealand and call New Zealand their home. So this starts from employment support. And employment support, as part of that, is understanding what kind of employment you can undertake in New Zealand. So within the healthcare assistance role, how do you meet the eligibility criteria for this role? Do you meet it? What are the pathways to residency? Would you fall within that? Having your dependent children and your partners supported on that. And we work with some of the top employers in New Zealand within the healthcare sector, so we can offer employment support, and that's sort of where we start with. Now, hand in hand with that is immigration. It's really important to understand the immigration settings of New Zealand, understand your eligibility, your requirements, and what you need to do to apply for a work visa. And that at the moment is an accredited employer work visa before you get to residency. We have also a really important part of what we do is relocation and settlement support. Coming into a new country, that is something that we can assist you with right from before you leave, wherever you are coming from in the world, to understand getting to New Zealand and making it your home. And we've got a team that is dedicated to settlement support and relocation. Now, the visa preparation, I know that a lot of you may have questions around this. So the visa part and the visa requirements for healthcare assistance is really important. So your documents. So what we do is visa preparation. We have 4 different steps, and we start right by your document verification. And this is all done by one of our licensed immigration advisors. This is to make sure that your work experience, your qualifications, and any other family, partnership, and dependent documents are all verified before you start the process of visas. And this is really important because it means that it is very clear to you and to any New Zealand employer looking at hiring from offshore that you already meet the requirements for a healthcare assistant in New Zealand. Okay, so that's step 1. Step 2 is securing a healthcare role in New Zealand. Now, often that can be the hardest part when you're going at it alone, when you are trying to find jobs in New Zealand where you don't know where to start, you don't know how to apply. So that's something that's a second step. Once you have your document verification done, we understand that you're eligible from an immigration perspective and a work perspective. Step 2 is securing that role in New Zealand. Step 3 is your visa application, and we make that as easy for you as possible. Our licensed immigration advisors work with you one-on-one to make sure that the visa application is a smooth and easy process. And then step 4 is our settlement support. And like I said, that does start before you leave wherever you are coming from. It is covered for you. And once you get into New Zealand, that also includes getting picked up from the airport, assisting you with your IRD, bank setups, and having a SIM card so you can call home. All of these are really, really important when looking at coming to New Zealand. Now, current visa policy, all of you who have been following what's happening in New Zealand, or even if you haven't, this is really important to understand. Immigration settings in New Zealand, just like anywhere else in the world, can and do keep on changing. So in New Zealand, all New Zealand employers, so they must be accredited. Now, what does it mean to be an accredited employer? It means that New Zealand businesses who are looking to hire healthcare assistants from offshore must have an accreditation given to them and assessed and approved by Immigration New Zealand, government body. Okay, this shows that they're a legitimate, viable business and that they are allowed to hire from offshore. That's the first step for an employer. The second step for an employer is making sure they have a valid job check. So again, they can hire from offshore. So we assist many New Zealand employers with their accreditations and job checks as well. Now, the visa that you would look at coming on as a healthcare assistant into New Zealand is called the Accredited Employer Work Visa, often shortened to the AEWV. And this visa can be given depending on the pay rate offered to you from a New Zealand employer between 3 to 5 years of duration. Okay, that duration time is quite important to know. You will know that after 2 years, you could be on a pathway to residency, and that starts right at the accredited employer work visa stage. And you have, again, between 3 and 5 years to meet the requirements of residency. So say even if you come into New Zealand as a healthcare assistant and you're on a slightly lower pay rate that doesn't meet the pathway to residency, you have time to get there to be on the pathway to residency. And this also, there's different options for family independence. This is also based on your employment offer. So that could be the pay rate that you're offered in New Zealand. Now, we as licensed immigration advisors would assist you through that process, understanding the pay rate, understanding what that means both for you and for any of your family members also coming to New Zealand with you. Now, I want to sort of talk about the healthcare industry in New Zealand, the healthcare sectors, because that's, you're all of you are looking at roles as healthcare assistants or looking at the healthcare industry in New Zealand. So it's great to know some more about that. You may have current work experience in private or public healthcare spaces, but I'll just go into a little bit more detail when we're talking about New Zealand. So we have a really diverse workforce, okay, in the healthcare sector in New Zealand. So that recently was noted at 42% are overseas trained healthcare professionals, whether they're healthcare assistants, or nurses, or within the healthcare sector. So that's you can see high, and that also just goes to show the multicultural place that New Zealand is. We have a really high standard of care, excellent patient safety, and time and efficiency ratings. So the workplace, anywhere that you would work in New Zealand within the healthcare sector, all of those things you would notice that's all part of the New Zealand healthcare system. It is a really positive, supportive, and friendly culture. It's a great work environment. There is work-life balance. That's important to all Kiwis. That's important to all of our visa holders in New Zealand. It is, like I said earlier, it's a way of life in New Zealand, and you have positive and supportive employers. And again, quality work environment, again, linking in with the high standard of care there, modern and well-equipped facilities. So I've given you an overview of the visa and the immigration settings and given you a little bit of insight into the healthcare industry in New Zealand. Next steps after the webinar will be for us to get some more information from you, and that would give us, like once we've touched on the eligibility, assist us more with understanding your eligibility so we can assist you further. Some of the things that it comes after the visa, after the job offer, but I think are really important to know. We've touched on the settlement as well, but these are some of the offerings that Working In will do and make sure that you're very clear on settling into New Zealand. So you can see those on your screen now. Transferring your funds. We can assist with shipping belongings from all over the world. Once you're in New Zealand, opening bank accounts for you, pointing you in the right direction when you're looking for accommodation, point you in the right direction when you're looking for schooling for your children. We do have relocation experts that work with us. That's really important for New Zealand, just like anywhere else, when you're looking for a role in New Zealand or looking at a permanent move and life in any country, but of course we're on New Zealand today, is that you're prepared, that you've done your research on New Zealand, on the healthcare industry, which is something that I can help you with and our team at Working In can help you with. But see, these are some of the really good preparation tips for you all to be aware of. Document verification to meet visa requirements. Like I talked about before, this is really important for you and your family, just as much as it is important for potential New Zealand employers looking to hire from offshore. So this ensures that you know that you're going to be visa ready, but it also ensures the New Zealand employer has that understanding and security that you meet the requirements of work experience and or your qualification and your visa ready, okay? Another thing is to really make sure that you have an updated CV or resume. Now, in New Zealand, the more straightforward, simple, and easy to read your CV is, the better. Okay, a one-page CV is really helpful. That is something that we can have a look and assist you with. Another tip is licensed immigration advice. Now, I've introduced myself as a licensed immigration advisor, and some of you may know already what that means, but as we offer immigration advice to New Zealand, we have to have a license, as you can see, licensed immigration advisor. We are licensed by the Immigration Advisors Authority of New Zealand. We have to renew our licenses every year. And unless you're doing a visa application yourself, any other advice should be coming from a licensed immigration advisor. Nobody apart from yourself or a licensed immigration advisor should be lodging your visa. All licensed immigration advisors for New Zealand, including all of those that work with Working In, is publicly available on the Immigration Advisors website. So you can find mine and my team's licenses there. And it's really important that you are researching who you're talking to when you're getting immigration advice in New Zealand, and that they have a valid immigration license. Also really important is research where you want to live. Now New Zealand is a smaller country. Maybe our cities are not as big as some of the ones that you may be living already, or maybe they might be bigger, but we've got both big cities and more rural areas. So a little bit of research on that and talking to, again, one of our team to understand that is really important. The other preparation tip is to know who you're going to be working with, which is why when you're working in New Zealand, we can make sure that you're working with the top healthcare employers of the country. a little bit more about working in teams. So we have an office in New Zealand, in Auckland. That is our head office. We also have other offices around the world, which includes India, the UK. We work within Australia as well. I'll just share a lovely picture of some of our visa team in New Zealand, and this is just outside our office there. And some of these are some of our administrators and some of our licensed immigration advisors. So that's good to say. You may be seeing some familiar faces there. I'm just going to have a quick look while I'm online if we've got any live questions. I can see that we've got people from all around the world. We've got some questions regarding qualifications in here. We've also got some questions around English testing, and people trying to understand what a code is. So let me start with when we're looking at qualifications for healthcare assistant roles. So just to be really clear, healthcare assistant roles, we are not talking about registered nurses in New Zealand. Now, healthcare assistant in New Zealand either would need 3 years of relevant work experience or a relevant qualification. Now, if it's a bachelor's qualification or higher, it may not need to be assessed by NZQA, which is our qualification board in New Zealand. Again, one of our licensed immigration advisors can assist you with understanding your qualification, whether it would need to be assessed, whether it's relevant. And we can also assess, as part of our eligibility criteria and document verification, that your work experience is valid for a healthcare assistant role. And we've also got some questions regarding English testing. Now, it's really important to know for the roles that I mentioned here, like aged care workers, nursing support roles, and healthcare assistants, that for the visa requirements for an accredited employer work visa for these roles, it may not be necessary that you need English testing straight away. It is not a requirement for all accredited employer work visas for some of the higher skilled roles. It is a requirement when we look at residency, which you may be on the pathway to 2 years after working in a role within the healthcare assistant roles in New Zealand. So again, we can assist in making sure you understand what English requirements you need to meet. Now, when we're talking about English requirements, one is the visa requirements, but then one is obviously the requirements of a New Zealand employer. You should be able to communicate in a workplace, and we can definitely assist you in assessing that as well. Somebody has put in there, Prignesh, I see your question regarding skill level 4, job code, aged or disabled carer. Now, I'm just trying to sort of understand your question, but I think you're talking about the skill levels in New Zealand, which is really important to know. So there are level skills 1 to 5 roles in New Zealand, and if you already have a job offer in New Zealand, we can have a look at that and assist you in assessing what that level of role might be. It's important to note there are some healthcare assistant roles, though they may online appear as skill level 4. Immigration New Zealand have actually assessed these at skill level 3. Okay, so that's again very important information, but that's something that we can assist you and look at when you have a job offer in New Zealand, making sure that you understand what the skill level role is, what that means for residency, but also what that means for your English level requirements. I will get back to you just after the chat. I can see some of your questions here. Somebody's asked about dental assistants, so this really is for healthcare assistants, but I will try and get back to all of you individually. And like I said, the next steps are, after we finish the webinar today, you will have an email sent to you, and that is for people really seriously interested in healthcare assistant roles and looking at getting advice from licensed immigration advisors and how we can help you progress further. So if you fill in that form, one of our team will be back to you to see if we need more information for you. And then the next step after that would be to have a call, most likely with me, to move forward and see where we can assist you further. I know you all may have a lot more questions, so we can get back to those individually. And like I said, you will get a follow-up email from me so we can look at answering those questions for you. I think we've covered a lot here, and I think one of the main things that I want to just sort of reiterate on is sort of about working in New Zealand and how we can help. And I covered what a licensed immigration advisor is, but working with us means that you have assistance from employment support, immigration, and relocation. So definitely get in touch with us if this is what you're looking for. You feel like you meet the requirements of a healthcare assistant in New Zealand. You are interested in the residency pathway in New Zealand, and we can be in touch with you and move things forward. I'd like to thank all of you for joining today, and we look forward to talking to you soon. Thank you.